I was standing in my kitchen this morning just pouring my first cup of coffee when I heard the knocking. It was persistent, almost desperate. When I opened the door, there he was. Derek, the man who lived with me for 2 years, used my money, ate my food, and told me I was not the kind of guy anyone would ever want to marry. That was 5 months ago, and now he was standing right there, looking completely broken. Let me tell you how we got here. Before I begin, I want to ask you something. Have you ever trusted someone, completely given them everything you had, only to discover they were using you the entire time? If that sounds familiar, drop a comment below and let me know where you are watching from today. If this story resonates with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel so you do not miss what comes next, because what Derek said to me that night and what happened 5 months later changed everything I thought I knew about love and self-worth. Now let me take you back to where it all started. My name is Erin. I am 28 years old, and I work as a financial consultant at a mid-sized firm in downtown Chicago. 2 years ago, I met Derek at a sports bar near my office. It was a random Thursday night. I had just closed a big account and wanted to celebrate with a cold beer and some basketball on the big screen. Derek was sitting 2 stools down from me, and when our team scored, we both jumped up, cheering at the same time. He looked over at me and smiled, and just like that, we started talking. Derek was 31, charming, and worked in real estate. At least, that is what he told me. He had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room. He asked questions about my life, remembered every detail I shared, and laughed at all my jokes. By the end of the night, I was convinced I had met someone special. Looking back now, I realized there were signs from the very beginning. My mother met him a few weeks later and pulled me aside afterward. She did not say much, just that something about him felt off. My best friend Marissa was more direct. She told me he seemed too smooth, too polished, like he was performing a role rather than being himself. I dismissed both of them. I thought they just did not understand him yet. I was so sure I had found the one. The first 6 months with Derek were everything I had ever wanted. He would surprise me with home-cooked dinners, plan weekend getaways to small towns outside the city, and send me good morning texts that made me smile before I even got out of bed. He told me things like, "I have never felt this way about anyone before, and you are different from everyone I have ever dated." I believed every word. We spent lazy Sundays having picnics at Grant Park, watching the boats on Lake Michigan. He would bring a blanket, cheese and crackers, and a bottle of wine. We would talk for hours about our dreams, our fears, our future. He said he wanted to build something real with me. He said he was tired of shallow relationships and meaningless connections. He said I was the person he had been waiting for his whole life. I introduced him to everyone. My parents, my siblings, my closest friends. I was proud to have him by my side. I thought we were building a life together. Then, about 8 months into our relationship, Derek came to me with a problem. He said his apartment had a major plumbing issue. The pipes had burst, there was water damage everywhere, and the building needed to do extensive repairs. He asked if he could stay with me for a few weeks until everything was fixed. I said yes without hesitation. To me, it felt like a natural step forward. We were already spending most nights together anyway. Having him move in even temporarily seemed like progress. But those few weeks turned into a few months. And then, a few months turned into a year. Derek never mentioned his apartment again. He never talked about when the repairs would be done, or when he planned to move back. And I never asked. I did not want to seem pushy or needy. I did not want to pressure him. I told myself that if he wanted to stay, that meant he wanted to be with me. I was so desperate to believe in us that I ignored the obvious. Derek slowly moved all of his belongings into my place. His clothes filled my closet. His gaming console sat in my living room. His toiletries took over my bathroom counter. My apartment became our apartment, except my name was the only one on the lease, and I was the only one paying rent. At first, I did not mind covering everything. Derek said his commission checks were delayed. He said clients kept backing out of deals at the last minute. He said the real estate market was slow and things would pick up soon. Every month, there was a new excuse, and every month I paid the bills alone. Then he asked to borrow my credit card. He said he needed to buy some professional clothes for client meetings. He said it was an investment in his career which would eventually benefit both of us. I handed over my card without question. When the statement came, I saw charges I did not recognize. expensive restaurant bills, designer shoes, a new watch. When I asked Derek about it, he said those were business expenses. He said he had to look successful to attract high-end clients. He said I needed to trust him. So I did. But the financial drain was only part of it. In the beginning, Derek helped around the apartment. He cooked, he cleaned, he did laundry. But over time, all of that stopped. He said work was exhausting him. He said he needed to rest so he could perform well during meetings. He said I was better at domestic stuff anyway. So I worked a full day at the office, commuted home, and then cooked dinner, washed dishes, folded clothes, and scrubbed the bathroom. Meanwhile, Derek sat on the couch watching television or playing video games. When I asked for help, he would sigh heavily and say he was too tired. When I expressed frustration, he would turn it around on me. "You used to be more fun," he would say. "You are always complaining now." What happened to the Aaron the first fell in love with? I started to believe there was something wrong with me. I thought maybe I was being too demanding. Maybe I was expecting too much. Maybe I just needed to try harder to make him happy. So I pushed down my feelings and kept going. The changes in Derek were gradual at first. He started working late more often. He said he had evening showings with clients, networking events, deals that needed to close after business hours. I understood. Real estate is not a 9-to-5 job. I supported his hustle. But then I started noticing other things. His phone, which used to sit face up on the table, was suddenly always face down. He changed his password and became protective of his screen. If I walked by while he was texting, he would quickly switch apps or turn the phone off entirely. One night, I woke up around 2 in the morning and realized Derek was not in bed. I found him in the living room, sitting in the dark, his face illuminated by his phone screen. He was smiling at something, typing quickly with his thumbs. When I asked who he was talking to, he nearly jumped out of his skin. "Just reading some memes," he said. "Go back to bed." I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him. Because the alternative was too painful to consider. So I went back to bed and told myself I was being paranoid. A few weeks later, I came home early from work. A client meeting had been canceled at the last minute, and I decided to surprise Derek with an afternoon together. I thought maybe we could go for a walk, grab coffee, reconnect like we used to. When I walked into the apartment, Derek was not there, but his laptop was open on the kitchen counter. I was not trying to snoop. I was just going to close it so it would not overheat. But then I saw the screen. He had a jewelry website pulled up, specifically a page full of engagement rings. My heart started racing. For a split second, I felt a rush of hope. Maybe he was planning to propose. Maybe all my doubts had been wrong. Maybe we were going to be okay after all. Then I noticed another tab was open, his email, and the message displayed on the screen shattered everything I thought I knew. The email was addressed to someone named Brianna. I read the words, and each one felt like a knife to my chest. "I cannot wait to see your face when I get down on one knee. You deserve the world, baby. Soon you will be Mrs. Brianna Collins." My hands were shaking as I scrolled through the other messages. There were hundreds of them, dating back over a year. Derek and Brianna had been together the entire time he had been living with me. He called her the love of his life. He talked about their future together, the house they would buy, the children they would have. And me, he referred to me as the roommate situation. He told her I was just someone helping him out financially while he got back on his feet. He said I meant nothing to him. I do not know how long I stood there reading. It could have been minutes or hours. Time stopped making sense. 2 years of my life. And it had all been a lie. Every "I love you." Every promise. Every night we spent together. None of it was real. When Derek came home that evening, I was sitting at the kitchen table in the dark. He turned on the lights and looked at me with confusion. "What are you doing sitting here in the dark?" he asked. "Did you make dinner?" I looked up at him. The man I had loved. The man I had trusted. The man I had given everything to. "Who is Brianna?" I asked. His face went pale for just a moment. Then he recovered, plastering on that charming smile that had fooled me for so long. "She is just a client," he said. "Why are you asking?" I repeated the words from his email, word for word. I watched his expression shift from denial to realization to something else entirely. Something cold. He sat down across from me and sighed like I was being unreasonable. Like I was the one causing problems. "Look, Aaron," he said. "I was going to tell you eventually. Brianna and I are getting married. It just happened. You cannot control who you fall in love with." "You told me you were not ready for marriage," I said. "You said it was too soon. You said we needed more time." Derek rolled his eyes. He actually rolled his eyes at me. "Come on," he said. "You really think I was going to give you a ring? You are the kind of guy men settle for when they have no other options. When they have failed at everything else, Brianna is different. She comes from money. She has connections. She can actually help my career." He leaned back in his chair like he was explaining something obvious to a child. "You were convenient, Aaron," he continued. "You paid the bills. You cooked. You cleaned. You gave me a place to stay while I figured things out. But marriage material. Please. Do not embarrass yourself." I sat there in silence. I could feel my heart pounding in my ears. My vision blurred with tears I refused to let fall. Everything I had built, everything I had believed in had just crumbled into dust. Derek waited for me to react. He expected me to yell, to cry, to beg him to stay. That is what he wanted. That is what would have made him feel powerful. But I did not give him that satisfaction. I stood up slowly, walked into the bedroom, and closed the door behind me. "So we are good," he called after me. "I will just sleep on the couch tonight." I did not answer. I did not sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of our relationship in my mind. Every red flag I had ignored. Every excuse I had made for him. Every time I had silenced my own intuition because I wanted so badly for us to work. The pain was overwhelming. It felt like someone had reached into my chest and crushed my heart with their bare hands. But somewhere beneath the hurt, something else was stirring. A small flame of anger. Of resolve. Derek thought I was weak. He thought I would fall apart without him. He was probably out there right now texting Brianna, laughing about how I had just sat there and taken it. But he had underestimated me. He had mistaken my kindness for stupidity, my patience for desperation, my love for dependency. I was done being his backup plan. I was done being convenient. And I was going to make sure he understood exactly what he had lost. The next morning, I started planning. I called in sick to work and spent the entire day organizing my strategy. First, I needed evidence. I logged into our shared cloud account and found years' worth of financial records. Every payment I had made, every expense he had put on my credit card. I calculated the total, and the number made me sick. Thousands and thousands of dollars. All gone. I took screenshots of everything. The emails to Brianna, the credit card statements, the bank transfers. I saved them in multiple places, backed them up to external drives, and emailed copies to myself. Then I called a lawyer. I explained my situation and asked what my options were. She told me that while proving fraud would be difficult, I had a strong case for recovering some of the money he had taken under false pretenses. She advised me to document everything and prepare for a potential civil suit. Next, I addressed my finances. I reported my credit card as lost and requested a replacement with a new number. I opened a new bank account at a different institution and transferred all my savings. I changed the passwords on every account I owned. Derek would not be able to access a single cent of my money going forward. I also researched tenant rights. Derek had never been on my lease. Legally, he was considered a guest who had overstayed his welcome. I drafted a formal notice requiring him to vacate the premises within 30 days. I had it notarized and ready to deliver. But there was one more thing I needed to do. One more person who deserved to know the truth. I found Brianna on social media. She was beautiful, successful, and clearly had no idea what kind of man she was about to marry. Her profile was full of happy photos with Derek captions about finding her soulmate, excitement about their upcoming engagement announcement. I spent a long time composing my message to her. I did not want to sound bitter or jealous. I just wanted her to have the information I wished someone had given me 2 years ago. I introduced myself. I explained who I was and what my relationship with Derek had been. I attached the screenshots, the emails, the evidence of our life together. I wrote about the money he had taken from me, the lies he had told, the way he had described her as his future while describing me as nothing more than a convenient arrangement. I ended with this: I am not reaching out to hurt you. I am reaching out because you deserve to know who you are planning to marry. What you do with this information is entirely up to you. But I could not let you walk into a marriage with someone who is capable of this level of deception. You deserve better than that. We both do. I hit send and waited. The response came 3 hours later. Brianna called me. Her voice was shaking. She had read everything. She had confronted Derek, who had tried to deny it at first, then attempted to spin it, then finally admitted the truth when faced with undeniable evidence. She thanked me through tears. She said she was calling off the engagement immediately. She said she could not believe she had almost married a con artist. She asked if there was anything she could do to help me. We talked for over an hour. By the end, we had exchanged real phone numbers and made plans to stay in touch. It was strange, forming a friendship with the woman I had considered my rival just days before. But she was not my enemy. She was another victim. And together we were both going to reclaim our lives. 2 weeks after the night of the confrontation, I was ready. I came home from work with 2 of my closest friends, Marcus and Tony. They were there as witnesses and as backup in case things got ugly. Derek was sprawled on the couch watching television like he owned the place. He barely looked up when we walked in. "Who are your friends?" he asked dismissively. I handed him the eviction notice. His eyes scanned the paper and his expression shifted from boredom to confusion to anger. "What is this?" he demanded. "You cannot kick me out." "Actually, I can," I said calmly. "You are not on the lease. You have never paid rent. Legally, you are a guest, and I am formally requesting that you leave. You have 30 days, but if you want to go sooner, that works for me." Derek stood up, his face red with fury. Before he could say anything, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and all the color drained from his face. It was Brianna. She was calling to make it official. To tell him the engagement was over. To tell him she never wanted to see him again. "You told her," Derek shouted at me. "You ruined everything. Do you have any idea what you have done?" I looked at him steadily. "No, Derek. You ruined everything yourself. I just showed her who you really are. And now I am showing you what happens when you underestimate someone you thought was nothing more than convenient." Derek tried to argue, to threaten to manipulate his way out of the situation. But Marcus and Tony stood behind me, silent and solid. Derek had no leverage anymore. No money access, no backup plan, no bride. He packed his things that night. He did not wait the 30 days. He threw his belongings into garbage bags and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. I changed the locks the next morning. The weeks after Derek left were harder than I expected. The apartment felt too quiet. I kept reaching for my phone to text him before remembering there was no one to text. The habits of 2 years do not disappear overnight. But slowly, I started to rebuild. I began seeing a therapist who specialized in relationship trauma. She helped me understand that what I had experienced was a form of emotional abuse. Derek had systematically broken down my self-esteem, isolated me from my support system, and exploited my desire for love and connection. Recognizing the pattern was the first step toward healing. I reconnected with friends I had neglected during my relationship. Marissa cried when I told her everything. She apologized for not pushing harder when she first sensed something was wrong. I told her it was not her fault. Some lessons we have to learn on our own. I threw myself into my work and earned a promotion I had been too distracted to pursue before. Without Derek draining my finances, I started saving money for the first time in years. I set a goal to buy my own place within 3 years. I also stayed in touch with Brianna. We grabbed coffee every few weeks and swapped stories about the lies Derek had told each of us. It was therapeutic in a strange way, like comparing notes on a shared disaster. We became unlikely friends bonded by our mutual experience of being deceived by the same man. Months passed. The pain faded from sharp and constant to a dull ache that only appeared occasionally. I started feeling like myself again. Not the version of myself that Derek had created, the one who was too much and not enough at the same time, but the real me. The me I had been before I let someone else define my worth. Then, 5 months after the night I kicked him out, Derek reappeared. It was early on a Sunday morning. I was making coffee, enjoying the quiet, thinking about nothing in particular. And then I heard the knocking. Persistent. Desperate. I opened the door, and there he was. He looked terrible, unshaven, thinner, dark circles under his eyes. His expensive clothes had been replaced by wrinkled basics that hung loosely on his frame. "Aaron," he said. His voice cracked. "I made a mistake. A huge mistake. Brianna left me. I lost my job. I have nowhere to go. Can we please just talk?" He tried to smile to summon some of that old charm. "I realized you were the one all along," he continued. "I was stupid and blind. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I threw it away. Please, Aaron, give me another chance. I will do anything." I stood there looking at him. This man who had used me, humiliated me, told me I was the kind of person people settle for when they have no other options. 5 months ago, his words had shattered me. But now I just felt peace. "Derek," I said, "I spent 2 years being your backup plan, your safety net, your meal ticket, and when I found out the truth, you told me I was not marriage material, that I was just convenient." He opened his mouth to interrupt, but I kept going. "You were right about one thing. I am not the kind of person you settle for when you have failed at everything else. I am the kind of person you lose forever when you fail to appreciate what you have." I paused, letting the words sink in. "I hope you find what you are looking for, Derek. I really do. But you will not find it here. Not anymore." I stepped back and closed the door. Gently. There was no need to slam it. The conversation was simply over. I heard him stand there for a long moment. Then footsteps. Then silence. I walked back to the kitchen and picked up my coffee. The morning sun was streaming through the windows. The apartment was quiet and clean and entirely my own. I took a sip and smiled. Some people come into our lives to teach us what we deserve. Sometimes that lesson hurts. Sometimes it breaks us wide open. But if we are brave enough to learn from it, we come out stronger on the other side. I learned that my worth is not determined by whether someone chooses me. It is determined by whether I choose myself. And I finally did. If you are watching this and you have ever felt like you were not enough for someone, I want you to hear me clearly. The problem was never you. It was never about what you lacked. It was about someone else being too broken to recognize what they had. So let me ask you this. Have you ever had to walk away from someone who made you feel small? Have you ever discovered that the person you trusted was living a double life? Drop your story in the comments. I would love to hear from you, and I know this community will support you the way you have supported me. If this story touched you, please give it a like. If you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message today, please share this video with them. You never know whose life you might change. Thank you so much for watching and for being part of this journey with me. I am sending you strength, courage, and the reminder that you are worthy of real, honest, unconditional love. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one.